Tonight, Lafitte Mayor Tim Kerner says a levee is at risk of breaching. The danger zone is near Goose Bayou on Factory Road. The good news is that many of the homes there are built very cameras could only make it into town so far as water covered much of the roads. Water was about 2 feet high where we were. Some people are deciding to stick it out and not evacuate, while others say they're not taking any chances.
I'm concerned about the water and wait till the last minute because of Katrina and a couple other ones. It was bad. It really was bad with the water. So we want to get out before that occurs.
Today, the Red Cross gave out supplies for people at Pard Playground in Marrero. They say they will open up again tomorrow if needed.
The town of Lafitte is under a voluntary evacuation order tonight after Tropical Storm Cindy caused flooding in that part of Lower Jefferson Parish.
And that's where we find Carice Jackman. And Carice, does it seem like a lot of people did leave town?
Actually, Ton and Natalie, they did not. A lot of people are staying here, riding it out. A lot of their homes are elevated to above a couple of feet in the air. But a lot of people tell us that because they're doing that, even though they are doing that, they are not taking this lightly, and they're taking every precaution possible.
In just a few hours, the roads and streets in John Lafitte filled with water.
It started last night, and then probably about 10 o'clock this morning was when it really kind of started rolling in.
Jessica Caulfield and her family spent the day walking through it. Some of her neighbors using their boats to get around, moving perishable belongings and their vehicles to higher ground. Officials called for a voluntary evacuation after water reached just a foot short of the top of the levee. Parts of the Bayou Barataria and the Intracoastal Waterway overflowing into roads and driveways.
We're going to continue to monitor those bags. We're going to put more bags where bags are needed, and we're going to try to make sure that people don't flood in those areas.
Many affected lived in Lower Lafitte, the water impacting their daily lives. Even the smallest creatures like this ant colony search for a dry spot.
If you ride down here, it's
lived here his entire life. He tells us this happens, you always have to be ready.
We have 5 here. The last couple's Lee, Tropical Storm Lee had 5 foot of water. Isaac, we had water. Everybody around is pretty much knowing when it's going to happen.
Nancy and Steve Polkey have an elevated home and plan on riding the flood out, but they also know how problematic these high tides can become.
You run through that water and it just messes up your cars underneath now, you know.
That's the only problem we got. That's why we stay home. Because some people just come out here to sightsee and they don't think they're doing no damage. But it washes up, we lose the yard.
Now, the mayor tells us he doesn't think that this will call for a mandatory evacuation, but still he's watching the water and the flood levels. He says that it could rise a couple of more feet within the next few hours, so he's taking precautions and just keeping an eye on everything that's happening here in Jean Lafitte. Reporting live in Jean Lafitte, I'm Carice Jackman, Eyewitness News.
Carice, thank you.
The people who live in the town of Jean Lafitte are under a voluntary evacuation.
Wind pushed water from Bayou Barataria across roadways and onto properties. Natasha Robin continues our weather team coverage.
A south wind started causing big.
Actually, most of our concerns is always when the storm hits and after, because that draws all the south winds and also high tide affects us.
Water from Bayou Barataria began flowing onto properties and over John Lafitte Boulevard. Voluntary evacuation was ordered for Lafitte, Crown Point, and Barataria.
If you live in the Lower Barataria port now, or if you have to get out of Lower Lafitte, you know, Goose Bayou North it's got a foot of water on the road. Lower Barataria has a lot of water on the road, so if you could get your car out of there, if you could go somewhere, go.
The flood fight's been going on for a couple of days now. Crews have been placing these large sandbags along the roadway and also along the levee of Bayou Barataria.
It's Bayou Barataria. It goes straight into the Gulf. And as you can see, it's rolling in, and it's concerning. I thought it would have slowed down by now.
It's just some places they don't have the levee on a property. And if the water gets too high, we will flood, because I flooded 3 times where I had 5 foot of water in my house.
While several families packed up and moved to higher ground, others chose to stay.
I think the worst is over. We've got another couple high tides, and the wind continues to blow from the south, which is not good for us.
I don't expect much more than what you see here. We're on the other side of Goose Bayou Bridge. If our little levees hold up, we'll be fine.
High tide for Lafitte happened around 4 o'clock this afternoon, but the south wind continues.
My concern right now is we are on a little island. We're surrounded by water, and I can see the through the levees. I think they're trying to fix that right now. So my concern is just the levees holding up because we're kind of stuck here now.
We actually had water earlier in the year from a sustained south wind, just typical summer cycle.
They say flooding like this only highlights the need for better levee protection.
And the good news with that is every area right now in Lafitte, Barataria, Crown Point is under design. They're designing levees for every little community. And we also have commitments. We got up to $75 million funding already.
The people of Lafitte say they're willing to wait.
It's what we got to deal with. Hey, when you live in a little paradise, sometimes you got to sacrifice.
Natasha Robin, Fox 8 News.